I've worked on the curriculum instruction side when I was with various learning platforms and latterly with Campus 24. So as Alicia said, I spend pretty much all day talking to different professionals across the school, and that can be admissions, it can be marketing, it can be communications, it can be registrar, bursar, HR, heads, principals, so lots of different people, and I'm very, very lucky to have a fairly large network now. And basically what we do at Campus 24, as you'll see on the screen, is basically to help schools differentiate your schools in an increasingly saturated market, because we are essentially a cloud-based platform to support schools with their student admissions as well as staff recruitment. So I'll come on to that in a little bit more detail later, but just so you know what our kind of use cases is. So I'll move on. And these are what today's talking points are going to be. So we're going to be talking about why personalisation is so important in a really competitive market, and obviously what the importance is within that of differentiating your school brand, making sure that you are verbalising your USP, and making sure really that you are able to build personal connections with families from a really early stage in the process. And really the aspect of that which is so important is that we know that families typically will have 4 or 5 or 6 or even more schools on their shortlist when they begin looking for a school. It's a really personal, really time-consuming decision a lot of parents will make. And typically in the way we are just now, with so many challenges in terms of cost of living, in terms of so much more choice, we really need to make sure that schools are supporting and nurturing the admissions journey each step of the way. And that's what Campus 24 can help you do by utilising multimodal collateral and making sure that you don't lose interest along that admissions funnel. One of the things we find when we're talking to schools that there's typically a number of challenges that schools will face when they are asked about their student admissions journey. One of the big themes that we see, of course, is so many competing schools. Number 2 could be establishing communications. So when you think about a parent having 4 or 5 different schools that they might be looking at, it's not difficult to see why that timely follow-up is so key, particularly when parents are reaching out to lots of different schools. So what Campus 24 does then, it helps you to capture new leads and allows you to facilitate really timely and targeted follow-up, and essentially allows your school to tell their school digitally to ensure that kind of highest conversion from initial inquiry to enrolment. And I'll come on to that in product in a little bit more detail. Another aspect of what we focus on is a way that we can ease burden on staff by providing a way for you to communicate to your admissions funnel really quickly, really effectively, because it's offering you a very granular insight into what those insights are or what the interests of the potential family are. I'll come on to that in just a second. So what are the challenges then facing schools? So we talked about the cost of living increase, which we are all very aware of regardless of where we are in the world. The rising cost of energy and other products, which of course is going to drive the increase in fees. And then in the UK in particular, we're seeing a lot of competition from neighbouring schools, including high-performing state schools. And that really comes down to the key fact is that parents have less money, but more choice. So again, why it's even more important than ever to be able to differentiate your brand. Now, particularly for UK schools, we have got the threat, of course, with the proposed changes of the Labour government next year in terms of the introduction of VAT and the charitable status removal. So, of course, this is making all of us, I think, very nervous in terms of making sure that parents are still going to continue to choose private education and for what degree. So, what are those challenges then, and what does that mean? What does that mean, the considerations that we have to make? So again, schools must really adapt to the changing landscape of how potential students and families interact, particularly because we are very much in an age of tech-savvy millennials. They want information quickly, They want to be able to extract information easily. And whereas a lot of school websites will typically be very much your shop window, an encyclopedia of information, we do know that it's typically quite click heavy. Lots of clicks to find information they're looking for. So we want to make sure that the information is readily accessible so that parents can consume that information quickly and make the choice about the school that they want their child to go to. And that really comes back to the same thing, is that prospects can easily consider and rule out your school without even knowing about it. They could be on your website, they could be moving on to the next school website because they haven't found the information quickly enough, which is why that personalised communication that really meets the specific interests of that student and their family is just so important to be able to maintain their interest, nurture them through the student admission funnel, but also by helping that ability to build a very early connection with that potential family to make them feel valued, make them feel listened to, and again, make them engaged in your school. The next point here is traditionally schools rely on in-person touch point, lots of face-to-face interactions. And again, what that does now really is it contrasts with busy parents' need for convenient access to personalised information and messaging that really caters to their specific need and interests. And that kind of goes back to the same point as I made earlier on, those stronger relationships built early in the admission process and sustained throughout the family journey, which is so crucial for effective relationship building. Before I move on, Alicia, can I just ask you to ask if there's any questions in the chat window or anything that anybody wants to add? Because I don't want to make this death by PowerPoint. I want to make it as interactive and engaging as possible. So please, if anybody does want to put their hand up or add anything, don't hesitate to do so. I know we've got quite a small group.
Thanks, Veronica.
Yeah, absolutely.
People always seem to be very quiet on these sessions, and it was interesting. I was on a session which was all young marketers, and everybody was putting jokes in the chat and all kinds of things. I thought, gosh, this is such a difference to our webinars when we're dealing with independent schools.
Absolutely.
So I think it's just a different culture. But we have got one comment saying so far so good. So
okay.
There you go. Keep going.
That is great. And I will just preface the situation by saying I have 2 dogs. I have a kid that's home today. So if you do hear any barking, please do excuse me. I feel really unprofessional with that, but my husband has just went out, of course. And I have 2 dogs. So if you do hear barking, please just excuse me. So I'll move on then. So basically, what is Campus 24 as a whole? So essentially, it's a way that schools can create and share really personalised collateral, which is used for a number of different use cases. So we've got student admissions, which of course we're going to be talking about today, but it can also be used for staff recruitment as well as alumni engagement and fundraising and development. And that is done essentially by the creation of personalised microsites, which offer instant access. It also offers data insights as well into that engagement. So it gives you a really nice view as to what content is resonating with. So of course it doubles up as not just as admissions information, but also a really strong marketing effectiveness tool. All of the content that we create are all mobile optimized because we do know that parents tend to consume information on their mobile phones now, as opposed to being in front of a desktop. And really what we are all about is making sure that schools are relying less on generic PDFs which can't be tracked. They can't be assessed in terms of how effectiveness, whether they're even being engaged with. So what we're doing is creating very high impact admission and recruitment collateral with the primary intention of engaging people in your funnel to keep them excited about potentially joining your school and increasing that likelihood of conversion. So as I mentioned, all of our content is totally branded to your school. It's completely customizable. Of course, it's trackable because it's essentially unique URLs, and these are what you would essentially call microsites on demand. What that does is it helps you to tell a very strong, immersive digital story about your schools and make sure that the information that the potential family is most interested in is being resonated with. We also have what's called the Campus Experience Builder. I'll show you a couple of examples in this in just a second. But what that means, it sits on your website, it sits on your socials, your email footers, and means it's capturing the leads or contact information of potential parents. And that's integrated with anything else you are currently doing, whether that is your socials, your emails, all these sorts of things. Now, the Campus Builder, which I'm about to show you, this can be staff-led. So it can be basically be a real-time personal follow-up at the time of inquiry. It can be used by agents. It can be used at events and shows, and it's really much, much quicker than actually composing a normal email. On this point as well, I will say that one of the interesting kind of research pieces I've done on LinkedIn recently has been talking about what is a main difficulty in the student admission process. And what I hear more and more now is that establishing the initial parent communication from when they've emailed or phoned or something like that, simply because you're going through so many schools, so that if you don't make that timely targeted follow-up in their kind of time zone or whatever it might be, establishing that parental communication can be quite difficult. And I'll come on to ways in which Campus can help you mitigate that. So essentially what our Campus Builder does is allows parents to create their own story from your own website. And of course, this is going to capture their email address, their phone numbers, their interests, and then makes it very easy to go into your admission funnel. So I'm going to show you some real-time examples now, but before I do that, I just wanted to confirm where that can be used. So it can be used on your school website, it can be used initial inquiry, it can be via your digital prospectus, open days and follow-up, school fairs with agents, all the things that I said, but hopefully that just kind of gives a little bit of a visual overview as well. It can also be used on your socials, your email footers. So what is Campus in its kind of main aspect? So number one, it's giving you the ability to create a school experience, which essentially is a unique microsite URL. Again, it can be accessed on any device. It's emailed directly to the family as well. And of course, it's then going to capture the contact details of the parent, the student's name, age, that sort of thing. This allows you to essentially create content at scale to generate new leads. And as I said, it can be staff or parent-led. There also is a school dashboard, which allows you to be able to get a full insight into where the content is being engaged with, where it's being engaged with, which calls to action are being engaged with, and more importantly, it allows you to see a real insight into your admissions funnel, see what content they are actually interested in. So let's look at what the Campus Builder actually looks like. Can I just ask Alicia as well, there's a couple of questions. I wondered if you would just have a quick look in the chat window.
Oh, don't worry. It was somebody accusing me of saying that they were all old because they weren't putting comments in there. So, and I said, was it age or culture? So we'll let you continue with far better things, Veronica.
Okay, great. Okay, so now let me go in and show you a couple of examples. So we're now going to look at a fictitious student. So this is Emily, she's 15. She might be interested in a sixth form place. She might want to study A-level. She likes sport, she likes music, she likes chemistry, and university application support is also important to her. So for a second, to just think about what your next option would be. So imagine this was a phone call or an email to your admissions team. What are your options going to be? If you would like to pop into the chat window, what you might do, but I'm probably imagining it might be try to book them onto an open day, book them into a school tour. You might send out links, you might send out a PDF. I'm guessing it's probably going to be relatively similar to what you would do, but I'm just going to take a wee second there just to see if anybody does want to add anything into the chat window about what they might do if they got this potential inquiry. Okay, so we don't have anything in, so I'm going to assume that what I've said is probably more or less what a choice of what you might do. So what should Emily be getting? So this is an example of a personalised microsite. That link you're seeing there at the top, that is the unique URL, which again is shareable and it's trackable. And that trackable part of it is really the most important thing, because it's going to let you see if it's actually been engaged with or not. So Emily had said she was interested in hockey. You'll see it's a personalised description to Emily. You then see these, what are called hotspots engaging with you. So these are then multimodal content in regard to further engaging Emily into the funnel. So when we talk about multimodal, that could be a video from the head. It could be a welcome from the head of admissions. It could then go on to fees and term dates and things like that. But more importantly, what it's going to have on every single page, or as the school will plan, is a specific call to aid. So it might be an apply now, it might be meet the admissions team, it might be meet your potential pupils, it might be meet the team. There's obviously a huge amount of things that it could be, but the idea behind it is to further engage Emily and her family into this admission funnel and, you know, go to a specific call to action. And the reason she's done that is all of the areas of interest that she has just specified have been met. So she's already feeling that she's building a personal connection with the school. So she said she was interested in science. What you're looking at now, this could be a video of a great science lesson. It could be a video of a STEM competition. Obviously, the list could go on in terms of what this content could be. We do work with schools to create best practice, but also to give you a number of different use cases as to, well, what might you include, where might you include it, and we offer full training on onboarding as well. She then went on to say that she liked music. So this might be the competition from last year. It might be things about their competition. It might be aims of their course, but essentially what it's doing is furnishing this potential child with a great understanding of what this school may offer. She talked about university being important to her. So this is talking about where their offers were the previous year, success stories of IB scholarships, and again, you'll see that it's still going into different types of call to action, like apply now. The other aspect for you to know about this is that we also include auditorium. Now, this is where you can host live events, so it might be a virtual tour, it might be a virtual open morning. You can also post recorded sessions as well here. So again, very good for international inquiries as well, but it's just another way in order to be able to engage with more families. So this is just an overview, and this is a little bit of a mock that I've just kind of created to let you see. And it does look like it's taken a long time. It looks like this is extremely personalised. And unless you had a team of web developers on your team, it would be very, very difficult to be able to generate the same level of personalisation in such a very quick manner. So let me show you now how this is actually created. So this is one of our schools that we work with called the Portsmouth Grammar School. You'll see that when I go to their admissions tab, underneath admissions, it says create your PGS experience. I'm now going to click in and scroll down, and then you'll see there's a little bit of verbiage here, which basically invites me to create my own personal prospectus. So I'm going to go in and click here. I now have the option to create my experience. And now what I'm going to do is, as a parent, I'm then going to go through these areas of interest that I have specifically. So I'm going to pretend I'm a younger student, but I'm interested in PGS. I'm interested to hear from the pupils. I want to know about sport. I want to know about the junior school. At some point, I want to learn about university and career support. I might want to know about exam results, and I might want to look at key information. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and click here. And now what I'm going to do, this is where I'm going to enter the parent's name. I'm going to enter the child's name. I'm going to put in my email address, because this is not only going to be instantly viewable, but it's also going to be sent to the email address as well. I'll put in my contact number and the year on entry. I'm going to click submit. And what this is going to do, this is going to generate a personal prospectus, and it's also going to be emailed to me. And it's already coming up in my email. So here is my personalised prospectus, and you'll see that this has basically met all the needs that I've just identified. Now, you do have the option to have 2 or 3 what we call default scenes. So, for example, a school might always want to have information about pastoral care. It might be STEM, it might be key information, it might be admissions, there might be specific things that you might always want to have no matter what, even if a family hadn't selected an area of interest. But essentially what you'll do is you can now see that every single page is now going to offer me further information with different calls to action on that specific page. We work with our schools initially to do training and onboarding. So we basically help you set all this up in regards to identifying content, where you might use it, all these sorts of things. It's all going to be very much dependent on what the school's USPs are, and you of course know that better than anybody. I won't go through every single part of this, because I do want you to see some other use cases as well and what it might look like. But again, this is all specified to the junior school. And then, of course, it goes through all the different things that I said. So really, really strong in giving me a really immersive understanding. And really the idea behind it is if you think of a parent having, 4 or 5 different schools on their shortlist, we want to ensure that this one is the one they're engaging with, because I've already got all this information. And again, it's about building that personal connection. So now, what does this look like for your team coming into school when a parent has requested this information? You know the email's being sent to them, you know that they have got the link. So what does that look like for you? So this is an example of the school in particular's back end. We call it back end, it's really good dashboard. But basically every school that we work with has their own unique dashboard. And now what you're looking at is their overall engagement and user experience. So this lets you see how many engagements they've had, how many views, how many calls to action they've had in relation to experience views. So this one in particular, super high, almost at 50%, which is excellent. And then I talked earlier on about the marketing effectiveness side of this. So this then lets me see where the content is being resonated with. So if I was doing PPC, if I was doing Facebook, LinkedIn advertising, anything like that, it's also going to give me a really good insight into, okay, is that content actually resonating? Because if not, then obviously I need to change something. I'll just scroll down to the bottom of this just to let you see what it looks like. But essentially what it does is it tells me how many total generated experiences I've had, how many views. Also lets me see how long the content has been engaged with, what the most clicked hotspot is. So we talked about the need to have a really strong CTA. That again lets me view which CTA is actually working, what's been resonated with. So again, it serves as a really, really nice marketing tool. So let me just stop there for a second and see if there's any other questions or any feedback that anybody wants to share. No, I think we're good.
I think we're good.
And then what I'm now going to do is show you what that looks like for the admission funnel. So you saw me creating a personal prospectus. Now what's going to happen is that content, that's what I've literally just done there. So already I have got my email address of the parent, I've got the name, I've got a phone number, and then what I've got is the ability to actually go in and see, well, what did that student actually look at? So again, when I'm making my follow-up, I can be extremely targeted, I can be really personal, but I can also be very, very timely. Now I can do a number of things here. I can actually go in and edit the experience. So let's say this particular child had been interested in sports and we won a hockey game at the weekend or something like that. I can go in to edit that just to kind of put it to the top of their funnel. I can go ahead and resend the link. So if I wanted to engage with them in a different way, I can then go in and do that. Again, just targeted follow-up perspective. But most importantly, I can be very, very clear in terms of what they were actually engaging with, what content was actually being engaged with. And in addition to that, I can then go in and look at every single parent and see what content is being viewed, when it's being viewed. One of the conversations I had just last week, in fact, with another school talking about, you know, when we send out PDFs, we don't know if they're actually being opened, we don't even know if the email has been opened. So what this does is it lets me kind of, you know, sort my admissions funnel into almost hot, medium and cold, because I can see out of all these people in my funnel, what are they actually engaging with. So again, it's just very, very useful for me, saves so much time, and obviously eases that burden on my admissions team. So that is what the back end looks like from a parental perspective. Now, the same could be applied by your admissions team, your marketing team. So if you were getting an email inquiry, or if you were getting a phone inquiry, this is where you would go in and essentially replicate what I've just done. And I'll show you what I mean by that. So again, that's where the team in your office would then be able to go in to replicate exactly what I've just done. And that would appear in this place. So you would either have school or you would have parent. And that would be basically be able to segment your leads. And again, it would just be a case of going through the family with them. Now, there's so many that schools can do this. One of the really nice ways I wanted to show you was, this is a school that we work with in the UK called Leighton Park. They are a Quaker school. And you'll see that they've got it right on their own main website. And it invites you to build your own Leighton Park prospectus. And this is actually a really nice example. So I'm going to go ahead and show you this one. And this, of course, is a boarding school. So again, really useful to be used at events, shows by agents, all of these different things as well. So I'll let you see an example of this. And the same sort of contact details. And again, this is going to be emailed to me. It's also going to be instantly viewable. And I just think it's really nice to actually see different sorts of examples from what different sorts of schools are doing. So of course, they've got all the calls to action that I mentioned, us, like visit us now, interact with us, just how different some of these can be based upon obviously your school colours, your you know, the imagery, the content you've already got. And again, we work through this with you to make it as easy and effortless as possible. So lots of great ideas there into what that content could be. But again, it looks, I'm sure you will agree, it looks like a huge amount of time has been spent on actually putting this together, when you saw how quickly I created that, really, really quickly. And it's already come up in my email as well. So I'd just like to see another sort of way of doing it. Other schools we work with have, again, the automated builder button on their website. My internet is running super slow, apologies for that. And I'll let you see another example. So this is again, is a landing page. And when I scroll down, I'm going to go to home page. And again, this gives me the opportunity to create my own prospectus, where it says start your list. So let me just stop there and see if there's any other questions in the chat window. And then I'm going to go on to show you some other use cases from taking them from that kind of point of initial inquiry to enrolment.
There's a question there, Veronica, saying, is there any integration with existing school systems like iSAMS or SIMS? Now, I'm guessing the answer is it's not needed at this stage, because these are prospective pupils rather than enrolled pupils.
That is correct.
Am I taking words out of your mouth?
No.
Thinking with my admissions and marketing hat on.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So basically what we do is we work in a complementary fashion, really, to our whole point is to drive more people into that funnel, whether it's iSAMS, whether it's Open Apply, whether it's Engage, so that basically there's more people going into that funnel. And then in regards to the leads that you see in the dashboard, they would be able to be exported and obviously put into whatever system you were using.
Great.
Yep, absolutely. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to show you some other use cases of how schools might use the collateral creation to be able to support each stage of the journey. So thinking about preparing for entrance assessments, for example, preparing for interviews, preparing for open events, preparing for assessments. So there's loads of different ways in which we can utilise it. And I'll show you just some examples. So this is one which would be sent to students. They've already had their open day, they've already had their taster day, for example, and now they are preparing for an entrance assessment. So this is one that this school in particular sent out. And this is all about FAQs for the 11+ assessment. It might be an interview from a current pupil. And then you've got exactly the same again for the 13+. So that's just one way of using it. And again, one way of making sure that people don't fall out of the funnel, making sure that they're excited, they're involved, and again, they have a full understanding. The same could be applied for open days and events. So this is a school that we work with, and they utilised us to demonstrate their boarding. So again, they've got boarding, learning, co-curricular, and then they've got lots of different calls to action and hear about different aspects of the school. And the reason I'm showing you this is just to let you see the versatility of it and the various ways in which it could be used. You've then got things like this, which is one of our newest schools, in fact, Scarborough College. So this is a...
Oh, we can't hear you, Veronica.
Your school prospectus that they will send out. This again could be embedded on your website.
Can I just check, is it just my computer or is everybody struggling to hear, Veronica? If you could just put that in the chat, that'd be really helpful. Everyone. Okay, no, thank you. So. Okay. Veronica, can you try again? We heard about Scarborough College had just come on board as a new school, but then it sort of went off.
Oh, right. Okay, great. So this is an example of what you would call a senior school prospectus. So this could not only live on your own website in the kind of embedded fashion under entry level, but it could also be sent out as well. So again, it's just different ways of actually utilising the content creation. So this is senior school prospectus. It could be a junior school perspective. It could be a sixth form prospectus. So that just gives you other ideas as how it could be utilised. You've then got things like using this for a pre-event. So this one here is talking specifically about bursaries and preparing for bursaries, and they had a live event using the auditorium that I showed you in regards to them preparing for bursaries and scholarships. It might be talking about a specific USP. So some schools in particular might talk about outdoor education. This one in particular is talking about Duke of Edinburgh Award. So again, lots of different ways of just kind of showcasing different aspects of your school. So that's quite a good example, I think, of various different use cases. And really the idea behind that is that the student is being nurtured all the way through the initial, from initial inquiry all the way through to enrolment. So hopefully that gives quite a nice overview as to how that can actually happen. And then what I'm going to do is just come back to talk about a couple of other things. And then this is just an idea here, just to see some of the schools we already work with. I'm sure you'll probably recognise some of them. Most of these in the UK, and then there's a number internationally as well. Got a couple over in Switzerland, and these schools really range from prep schools, day schools, all the way through to huge boarding schools. So the level and versatility of the schools we work with are really, really varied. There's a couple of quotes here. This is from one of our heads of marketing over in Switzerland, talking about our setup and integration and things like that. So I won't read through every single part of it. It's just to kind of give you a little bit of an understanding. And then finally, some stats in order to share. These are some of the numbers that our schools give us in regard to 100% of our schools use us for their digital prospectus, an average of 22% in parent conversion. Our content is also used for recruitment as well. So at 33% of our schools for there's vacancies faster using us. But again, I think the most important things are the ROI in terms of 55% ROI in the first 3 months, and also about 25% more leads per month compared to not using us. So let me stop there for a second and see if we have any questions, because ideally what I do appreciate is that all of you will have very, very different needs, whereas we're all certainly in the same storm, but not necessarily in the same boat. So what we would always recommend is arranging like a personal demonstration with us, so I can go through it with you based upon the needs of your school rather than on a kind of wider group. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my email address in the chat window, and if you do want to contact me to arrange a personalised demo, I would be more than happy to go through that with you. And then I think that is basically me, Lisa.
Okay, thank you, Veronica. And I think in this day and age, personalisation is just so key. Parents expect it, millennial parents expect it. Everything you come across is personalised because of digital printing. And, we've all got, I couldn't even start to tell you the amount of personalised items we've got in our house, from tomato ketchup to Kellogg's boxes. So I think, it's a huge decision choosing a school, and it's not just about the facilities. It is about the tone, and you're buying into a community. So it's really important that you feel part of that community when you're on your journey of choosing a school. And the way to do that is through personalisation. I am conscious that Veronica has given some examples of some rather large schools, but it does work with small schools as well, especially if you've got, say, a nursery and a prep school. Those are very different needs. And you might have all that information on your website, but what is appealing to the mother of a 2-year-old, as we know, is very different to the mother of a 4-year-old or a 7-year-old, say. So if you have got half an hour to spare with Veronica, I would suggest going on a demo, because that was very much a quick run through. And I think, everybody who's on this call understands that personalisation is absolutely key these days. And my observations working with schools is that actually personalisation's got worse. In the old days, the head's PA would write a handwritten note about, you know, looking forward to seeing you. Whereas now, you get so many responses of go to the website, and it doesn't feel personal. You don't feel loved. You don't feel like you've been having your hand held along this journey. You've just been told to go and look in a big, massive directory. And this is where I think campus can really make the difference with those conversion rates. You know, yes, it can help with inquiries, but it can also help with conversions. So I think it really is worth looking into. And thank you, Veronica, because it's always good to just be reminded. You know, we all try and do personalisation, but often it just comes down to time. You know, I'm sure some people get a much fluffier email than others, depending at what time in the week their email came into the admissions department or to the head's PA. So yeah, thank you so much for that. Has anybody got any questions?